What's going on, everybody? Welcome into the Sick Podcast. Steelers, crazy big time episode today. Hanging out with a former Steelers legend, talking some ball, of course. Pittsburgh 5-3, a huge win over the Colts this past weekend, and a big matchup as they head to LA and face the Chargers coming up this Sunday night. So primetime game. Get your caffeine in and stay up late. See if the Steelers can go to 6-3. There is one thing I want to tell you about before we bring on our guest. I cannot believe I'm saying this, but week 10 starts now. The season went by literally in the blink of an eye. And you know how it is, guys, by now. Every touchdown brings you closer to a payout with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. It's not just football. It's first touchdown fireworks, anytime touchdown rushes, live bets that ride on every momentum shift. At DraftKings, every play is your next shot to win. This weekend, I know the Chargers are early 2.5-point favorites against the Steelers, so continue to monitor that. But listen, if you want to bet on that, do us a favor. You bet just $5 if you sign up, and you get 300 in bonus bets instantly from us with our code 6sports. And you can grab over 200 off NFL Sunday Ticket, which is clutch. Your season starts now. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Use code 6sports. That's 6sports, 300 in bonus bets instantly when you place your first bet of $5 or more, plus 200 off NFL Sunday Ticket. In partnership with DraftKings, the crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, fees may apply in Illinois. 21 and over. Age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. See sportsbook.draftkings.com/promos. NFL Sunday Ticket offer for new subscribers only and auto renews until canceled. Digital games and commercial use excluded. Restrictions apply. Additional NFL Sunday Ticket terms at youtube.com/go/NFL Sunday Ticket/terms. Limited time offer.
All right, a former Steeler legendary linebacker joins me after this. Jimmy, go ahead and run it.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. Steelers Crazy.
Aaron Smith shields. Flacco Polamalu takes it home. Super Bowl 43. Pittsburgh might be bound for that thanks to number 43.
The sickest Pittsburgh Steelers podcast.
Sports entertainment like no other. It's gonna be sick.
All right, he does a color commentary all across the country for NFL games, of course, does some Denver pre- and post-game work as well. But you know him best from the Pittsburgh Steelers Blitzburgh defense in the 90s. You can't spell Blitzburgh without Chad Brown. Chad, how are you, man?
I am fantastic, and it's always a good day to talk about Steeler football.
Always. Well, at least after a win in Pittsburgh, that's for sure. Some fans might not always feel that way, but no question about it, man. We're stoked to have you on. And, I want to start with what's in vogue right now. A lot of talk around the NFL post-trade deadline. And I think the first thing I want to ask you, there's been a lot made about the Steelers not making a deal and, some of the top AFC contenders like the Chiefs and Bills not making a deal as well. And people freaking out, I can't believe they didn't add to the team. So I guess my question for you is from a locker room perspective. When you're on teams that added or didn't add, what was kind of the clubhouse locker room mentality? Were there players who galvanized the whole thing, or was it just kind of like, all right, back to business, we didn't add anybody, things are status quo?
Well, at the end of every training camp, after the quote unquote final cuts are done in training camp, every coach I've ever been around says, all right, man, look around the room, these are the guys we're going to go to battle with, or something along those lines. And so from a locker room perspective, post-trade deadline, you look around the locker room and you recognize the bottom 3 or 4 guys in the roster may switch out. But other than that, these are the guys we're going to go to battle with. And so it's just another one of those marked moments where we got. This is all we got here. And so we've got to find a way to make a play. And so for the Steelers and the Steeler fans, I'm sure everyone would love to have gotten another receiver in that receiver room. So I know Jacoby Myers was a target they were after and couldn't get the deal done. And outside of DK Metcalf, that Steeler wide receiver room has been a bit disappointing. At the same time, now This is all you got. So you can continue to waste words and spill ink over something that didn't happen, or you can put your hopes and invest your playoff dreams in the guys who are there. And hopefully Aaron Rodgers continues to find ways to do what he's doing, and someone else in that wide receiver room steps up and takes a bigger role and moves forward. The best football teams I've ever been on, Mike, have always been teams that find ways to continue to get better. And if you are playing your best football at the midseason mark, well, you're peaking too early. You know, it's impossible to maintain the razor's edge of sharpness all season long. I was on an undefeated Patriots team that was undefeated until the Super Bowl. So we peaked a little bit too early versus the Giants, who limped and stumbled, for a lot of that season and then got hot late. So they were playing their best football when we were no longer doing it. So hopefully the Steelers team does what good teams do, continues to find a way to get better. And that receiver room is certainly a room that could stand for some improvement.
Yeah, I wanted to get your perspective. It doesn't sound like there were guys in the locker room, I know you can't speak for everybody, who were, oh, shucks, or disappointed. Oh, we didn't get this guy, right? Like, the season is over. So I can't imagine that's the case right now in the Steelers locker room. You mentioned the name Aaron Rodgers. That's a guy who's certainly not pouting at the moment. We're excited. He's excited the Steelers brought in Marquez Valdes-Scantling, who he played with for a long time. But just from, an outsider perspective, how impressed are you by Aaron Rodgers so far this season?
As a guy who played in the NFL until he was 37 years old, to see someone doing it at 41 years old, particularly after the most recent major injury he's had, it's remarkable. It's remarkable. Not everybody is genetically blessed enough to play that long, but for him to do it at the level that he's done it this season, 17 touchdowns, third among quarterbacks, only 5 interceptions, 68% passer. As much as the media has jumped on Aaron over the last couple of years for some of the divisive stuff and the Pat McAfee visits and the conspiracy theories and all that stuff, it's a bit disappointing that they have not highlighted actually how well he's done this year, coming in with so much doubt. And I have to admit, I was one who was doubting as well. It's difficult as an older player to recover from injury. It's difficult as an older player to recapture past levels of performance or past magic. And I'm not saying the Aaron Rodgers magic of 33 is back for the Steelers, but he's certainly playing at a high level in a league where there are not true 32 starting level quarterbacks. The Steelers have a quarterback who has done it at a high level, who's still doing it at a high level. And if they were to be in a playoff matchup with anybody, I won't say he can outduel the other quarterback, but he is. If the Steelers were to lose a playoff game, it most likely would not be to an inefficiency at the quarterback position. That's the level that Aaron Rodgers is playing at right now.
Well said. We are hanging out right now, of course, with two-time first-team All-Pro, 3-time Pro Bowler, former Steelers legendary linebacker Chad Brown. I want to ask you about the position or the side of the ball that you know best, obviously, and that's the defense. And the Steelers struggled mightily, at least coming into the Colts game. Secondary was giving up the most yards in the league, maybe starting to look a little longer in the tooth. What have you seen from this defense? And you think maybe Sunday jump-started a turnaround?
Well, I mean, people talk about the performance against the Colts, but again, to go back to what I just talked about, of finding ways to improve, some of the moves made back in the secondary, during training camp, Jalen Ramsey was going to be all these things. And in the end, it didn't play out on the game field as well as it played out during training camp and in the coaches' minds. So now Jalen Ramsey against the Colts plays free safety. And then Kyle Duggar, who they get from New England, he moves to strong safety. And suddenly that position switch produced what was the best defensive performance of the year for them. So if that's going to be the case, if simplifying things, not having Jalen Ramsey move to all these different spots just because he can, doesn't mean he should. if that's the move that needs to be made, I'm sure everyone on that defense will take it. As a guy who was utilized in so many different ways during my career, I always thought I'm willing to do whatever is best for the team. But in the end, I think I would be best utilized on the edge, playing outside linebacker, trying to get after a quarterback. But for my first 3 years in Pittsburgh, I played inside linebacker. And then I went to Seattle for 8 years. And at some point, I played every linebacker position possible. In the first year that Mike Holmgren and his staff were there, on third down, I didn't rush the passer. I played middle linebacker. I played dime linebacker on third down. So yes, versatility is great. Coaches being creative is great. But more important is along the way during the season, figuring out what's going to be most beneficial for our football team. Putting guys in those positions is what ends up making a great defense. So there's the elements there with guys like Hayward up front and Watt in the linebacker core. Now you've got some guys at the safety spot. You've got some pieces in place now that you can build around and begin to make these subtle tweaks or positional changes that end up having really major results on the outcome of a game, and hopefully can turn this defense from not just one of the most highly paid units, but into one of the most highly paid and highly performing units.
So you weren't resistant to change. It sounded like you were like, this is what I want to do. Some guys, obviously, would imagine are majorly resistant. You know, maybe a guy like Ramsey wasn't as excited to go from corner to safety. You kind of were, maybe?
There's two different mindsets here.
Mm-hmm.
Kevin Green, rest in peace.
Yeah.
Wore a gold jacket because he was clearly invested in playing one position and one style. He typically played for 3-4 teams. He played the left outside linebacker spot, rushed from there. That is what he did. If you would ask Kevin to slide inside and play inside linebacker, Kevin would have said no.
Right.
But obviously, being the player that he was, I think he and the production that he had at that one spot, you know, it's hard to argue that he was wrong in being so firm in his stance. Versus me coming on to a team where before the draft, Marvin Lewis and I sat down and talked before the draft when I was out for my free agent visit to Pittsburgh about me playing outside linebacker. Then Bill Cowher calls literally 2 days before the draft and says, we just got Kevin Green from the Rams. Can you play inside linebacker? Coach, I can punt if you want me to. I'll do anything. I just want to be a part of the Steeler organization. So just that acceptance right there, for sure. I mean, literally one phone call, one question from Bill Cowher, and I was instantly moving positions. I think I prided myself on being versatile and being flexible, but, you know, in order to wear a gold jacket, I mean, if I had stayed in Pittsburgh, if I had stayed as an outside linebacker, I finished my career with 80 sacks. Would I have over 100? Probably. Yeah. Would I be wearing a gold jacket? You know, I suppose, but maybe, most likely. So, you know, to play outside linebacker in Pittsburgh for 15 seasons, yeah, I like to think I would have gotten my share of sacks over that time. So it probably changed the trajectory of my, you know, legacy within the league. But I also took tremendous pride in being able to help the team any way the coach saw fit. And while I didn't always agree with it, if you think this is best, if you think this gives us best chance to win, I'll do it. But I think now Mike Tomlin and Terrell Austin are figuring out where to best fit these guys on the Steelers defense currently.
You should be wearing a gold jacket anyways. Come on.
Thank you.
I was going to ask you about the Broncos before I get you out of here, but I'm going to twist that a little bit. You just mentioned Mike Tomlin and Terrell Austin. They're going against Justin Herbert this Sunday night. You see him twice a year in Denver, so obviously you're quite familiar with his game when he has played. How do they limit him? I know he's missing most likely I know he's missing both his left and right tackle, but how do you stop Justin Herbert?
Justin Herbert is an amazing quarterback, and his level of play took a big leap forward this year. Now, since the start of the season, they've lost some of their best running backs. And to your point, they lost their tackles, and that's affected things greatly. But Justin Herbert still can make plays with his legs. He still can make thick, amazing throws. I posted something on Twitter a couple of weeks ago. One of the most amazing quarterback plays I've ever seen. Not only does he shrug off the attempted sack, as he's shrugging off the sack, he has to put the ball into his left hand to shrug off the sack, transfer it back to his right, and delivers a dime into the end zone for, I believe, what was the game-winning touchdown of that game. So he can make plays like that that are completely outside of the scope of the playbook, outside of the scope of the X's and O's. Some dudes in this league are just that good and that talented, and he's that guy. Now, what Harbaugh and the staff do to try to make up for the tackles, they so far when those guys have been out haven't had too many answers. When Alt returned, things picked up, and now he's back out again. The running game was critical early because that took some of that pressure off of Herbert and not running the ball as well. So, but he's still an amazing quarterback. He still has some weapons on the outside he can throw to. And Harbaugh is still a really good football coach. So I would expect the Chargers and the Steelers to be a tremendous game. But at this point, the Chargers are certainly limited versus where they were to start the season. They started the season 3-0, all against division opponents. They had a stranglehold on the AFC West before the season even really got rolling. And now things have kind of slipped on them because of those injuries.
Broncos or Chargers going to finally take the AFC West from the Chiefs? Going to happen?
The Chiefs, I mean, clearly they still got some fight in them, but they are more backed into a corner than what they've ever been during their Patrick Mahomes run here. The Broncos, obviously, winning 6 straight. The fourth quarter heroics of that offense and of Bo Nix, certainly not what you would draw up to win football games. You would love to have more steady, consistent performance. They do get a pretty easy one tonight against the Raiders. The Raiders haven't had a good season. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, Geno Smith threw 4 touchdowns last week. Brock Bowers caught 3 of those touchdowns last week. So there's some bright spots, and the Broncos do tend to struggle with opposing tight ends. So we'll see how that all plays out, although I do expect the Broncos to win the game. But yes, I guess to answer your question, there's an opportunity for both the Chargers and the Broncos to finally supplant the Chiefs as the winner of the AFC West.
Good stuff. We covered a lot of ground today. I know that, you do Pittsburgh media every once in a while. I promise you, every time we post that you're going to be joining the podcast, people freak out. So we love you in Pittsburgh, no doubt about it, Chad, and always great catching up and talking ball. Really appreciate you.
Well, thanks for having me on. Good to talk to you as well, and to the folks of Pittsburgh. Football is a job, so I had to take myself to where the job took me, but I was never happy about leaving Pittsburgh and never happy about not being a Pittsburgh Steeler. Played for 2 other great organizations, the Patriots and the Seahawks, but there's something special about being a Steeler and something special about being a part of that iconic franchise.
Once you put on the black and gold, you're always a Steelers. So
there we go.
People, I still see brown jerseys. Not even kidding. In the games, in the streets, the strip. You see all the people walking down, in their jerseys on a Tuesday afternoon, getting some pierogies and still rocking Chad Brown jerseys. So, we're always welcome home, no doubt about it. Thanks, Chad.
Thank you.
What an awesome guy and a great guest. Never does get old catching up with some former Steelers legends. And, I definitely wanted to talk to him about the trade deadline. And, I really like the line about, hey, once you're 53 or set, you can't really focus on the outside noise. So it's good to get a locker room perspective there. I also want to briefly tell you guys about Huel, another sponsor of ours. We're really appreciative about what they're able to do. Just a fantastic protein shake, meal replacement, 15% off new customers, okay, when you use the code 6Steelers. You can go to, as you see on our screen, Huel.com/6Steelers and get that 15% off when ordering. It's not only good for you, it's delicious. I like the strawberry banana, and I just had a vanilla yesterday after a workout. Tons of nutrients, vitamins. So do us a favor, fuel your best performance with Huel today. 15% off code SICKSteelers. Huel.com/SickSteelers for that. All right. I want to shout out Jordan York, who is not at the show today, but he's totally fine. He's getting his workout in. He's chugging Huel, probably, getting ready to make some bets on DraftKings. And I'm sure that he'll be back next week with a couple more awesome shows. Thank you so much for tuning in. Go ahead, Jimmy.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast Steelers Crazy on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.